Good morning, everybody. It is November 27th, 2020. My brother's birthday.
Happy birthday, brother.
The Ashland Public Schools cultivates the academic and social-emotional growth of each student through a supportive, collaborative, innovative, and challenging environment. Students will develop into self-motivated, resilient, lifelong learners who embrace their role as responsible contributors to a global community. This meeting is not being recorded by WACA Cable TV, but Mr. Adams has recorded it and it will be available to watch later. This is our regular Friday morning check-in for COVID, open session, call to order, opening procedures, agenda review and adoption, time for public comment if there is any, and then the administrative items include a COVID-19 update, phases, models of learning, status of athletics, and then we will adjourn. So I will take a roll call and just make sure everybody's okay with the order of business this morning. Paul Kendall.
Here and yes.
Kathy Bates.
Here and yes.
Mark Terry.
Here and yes.
And yes for me as well. And we will get started. I don't see any members of the public on my screen, but if there's anybody here that I don't see that wants to say something, let me know now. And then seeing none, Jim, I will just turn it over to you for the update, please.
Great, thank you. First and foremost, as I begin every one of these Fridays, thank you to Ed, Audrey, and the entire nursing staff and the folks in the town who are working through the COVID. Clearly, we're still seeing the numbers in town and nationally and locally go up. So there's a lot of contact tracing that certainly needs to occur. But because of the effort on a daily basis, we're able to continue within our model of learning, which I'm really appreciative of. Certainly, I think we're on pins and needles a little bit about not necessarily next week, but the week or so after to see how folks, how they took yesterday's holiday into account with some isolation and small gatherings versus big groups. So I will start by saying also that Stephen Marks does not have an athletic update this week. They met this week, but I've asked him to do a thorough preparation for next Friday, just so you know. I'm asking you to book off a little bit of time so Stephen can present what the TVL athletic directors have been working on for winter sports and to go through the MIAA component as well. That gives us a couple of meetings before any potential winter sports would occur, which I think, Stephen, is that around December 14th or somewhere around there?
Yeah, the 14th is the first day.
Okay, so I want to make sure that the committee has a couple meetings to be able to decipher information like we did in the fall, okay, if that's agreeable to everyone. And the last update before I go into the dashboard is that we will be participating in a program. I forget the name of the company. It's called Concentric by Ginkgo, where we're going to do some baseline testing of all of our staff, or we have the opportunity, our staff can do this at no cost. It'll be a donation to school systems across the Commonwealth. We applied, we've been accepted. December 10th is what I'm hoping is our date. It's a Thursday, and it would encompass the entire 470 plus members of our faculty and staff that could have a free test done. It's a lot of logistics, which I am working through with the company. I met with Armin Pyers from Medway on Wednesday, and they had this done as well. So he sent me a lot of tips on what to expect in terms of the actual day and preparing for the day to collect samples, et cetera. So I'm excited about that at least every one of our staff members on the 10th will have the opportunity to have a PCR test done. But it's really, they donate the lab work, they donate the kits, but it's really on me and my admin team to figure out how we're going to deploy everything and get it collected. It's not going to be on Ed. It's not going to be on Audrey. I mean, certainly I will ask for their expertise, but that would be a little bit too much for them as well. So questions on that? piece. I think I shared with everyone the flyer.
And then what are they going to do with the information? Is that what you said? They're collecting information?
Well, they give it to the staff member, right?
Oh, okay.
So we can have a baseline. I, as the administrator, have the ability to look at positive results, negative results, all the results that come in. And again, it's a voluntary for faculty and staff to do this. And then staff members would get their own ID login to get their information. What it does is it helps set a baseline, Kathy, for our entire faculty and staff, because as we know, there are asymptomatic folks, right, within our community, and may not be sick at all and may not know it. And I think it's just one more tool that we can utilize. And it's a donation. It was a grant received by this company, and they're giving back to the community by doing these for free. So,
great, thanks.
Does it end there, Jim, like just after the testing, or do they collect the information and trying to get some results or research about whether there's a spread in school? Is there it's purpose?
Yeah, no, it's really just about providing a baseline for your own community of your educators and your faculty staff.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, it's I think it's important to know, maybe we have nobody walking around our schools as educators who are asymptomatic or positive. So it's just a good way to, it's another tool, like I said, to at least provide some sort of something for our staff to feel good about, that they have the opportunity to do this. So.
I assume the grant is only for staff that you're talking about. That way, it's not.
That's correct.
Be for students as well, right?
It's not for students. It's only for faculty and staff. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And then the last bit of business is just I'm going to share my screen. The metrics for the week. And remember, as I stated, the Department of Ed is not publishing any information until tonight, actually the Department of Public Health. I have the right one, November 27th. Yep. So you'll notice our cases per week, pretty consistent with last week's. We don't have the state numbers, as I said before, and or the positivity rate, because they haven't published it and will not until tonight. You'll notice, again, we had, over the last 7 days, and that's what our number is a 7-day number adjusted. We've had one teacher in quarantine. We were at 27 students quarantined a week ago. We're at 31 now. I'm finding this to be interesting to look at. The asymptomatic, symptomatic, it's almost 50-50. It's creeping up. We had more symptomatic this week, I believe, Audrey, than we did last week. And that's telling that, maybe we are getting to the point where the asymptomatic is not as rampant as we think. But by grade level, again, or school, 12 and 10 at the middle school for quarantine students of the 31. Warren, Pitaway, none, or 0% and 1%. So,
Jim, can I just add one thing real quick here?
You can, of course.
Everyone, just so you know, today, at the end of the day today, 5 of those high school quarantines come off. Just so you know.
Great.
Today's their last day.
So my recollection is that the incident rate are hour adjusted.
Yeah.
I thought last week was lower than that.
Yeah.
I thought it was like 11.
Yeah, I want to explain that, and it's a good point, and I was going to bring that up, Mark. Because remember, we're doing data on Thursdays. We had a few cases. The way the data works, and Ed, maybe you can help me explain this. I'll bring that up, Mark, because I think it's a good point. The way the data works, if you remember, Ed actually stated last week when we joined the meeting, we had a few more cases come in on Thursday and Friday morning, right? So we cut our time off at 7 o'clock on Thursday morning. If you really want us to work at, so our data but our data for this week includes those cases from last Thursday and last Friday, which we had quite a few. So it readjusts the incident rate from the prior week as well. And let me see if I can, I'll share the screen.
Yeah, it was more just picking up on the change of week over week.
That's right. No, and that's a good point, because I looked at it 3 times, Mark. I was like, wait a minute. We were, as you can see, we were 11.11 last week, right? Is this sharing okay, everyone?
Yep.
Okay. We were 11.11 with 14 and 30. But notice the 17th and the 18th. See the 4 and the 0 here? If we then look at our, can you see this now? Again, the 27th, the 17th and 18th, we picked up those cases. So it readjusts automatically the prior week.
Jim, did you think you switched? I'm still seeing.
Yeah, you didn't switch over.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, I thought I did switch, Paul, right. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
So those dates now, Mark, you can see. I don't have to do a split screen share. That'd be kind of cool. So that's what has occurred. So we've picked up those cases, and it readjusted the prior week. So that's, it's a good point. And I looked at it myself and I said, wait a minute, what happened last week? And I said, well, Ed told us. We get the numbers at 7 o'clock on Thursday morning. There were some cases Thursday morning and Friday. Those still get added back into that look back, that 14-day, and that 7 days. So, because we're going Thursday morning to Thursday morning. And so Ed has a couple cases today, for instance, that will get added to these numbers, and we'll readjust next week's 7-day average.
So Ed, can I just ask about the numbers, or Ed and Audrey, about what if anything you're seeing different in terms of sort of the stories behind the numbers? Is it kind of the same thing, just a bit grander scale, or is there anything different that's going on out there?
I'll be honest, we're still seeing these little events in these apartment buildings. For example, yesterday I got a family of 4 in an apartment, all positive. We definitely are seeing that. But again, but what's really even interesting is, I was letting Jim know, we got 6 cases overnight, but only one of them involves an Ashland student. So, we look at, that's why it's great, because Audrey and I look at each case individually.
Right.
So, I mean, that's where we are. I think we're just in that holding pattern as to see where things are and how they unfold over the next, week or so with Thanksgiving. There are probably, I want to say 25 families, I think. I think I looked at the numbers yesterday that have written to us and said they are traveling and that they fully understand the policy and that they cannot return until either 14-day quarantine or a negative PCR test after 5 days, which is certainly more stringent than the executive order. But we made a point that we called all of those families as well to ensure that they understood the policy. So we feel comfortable, at least with those families who are telling us the truth, that they're traveling. So.
It's hard to believe that there are only 25 families that are traveling, but.
Well, listen, I've got some families who said, well, we won't return until January. So their quarantine begins in January.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, but that's where we are. I think it's important to mention here, since it's being recorded, that, I've certainly started receiving some inquiries, email inquiries and calls with regard to our January 28th midway point in terms of folks moving from remote into hybrid. We're getting actually more calls going that way than hybrid to remote. I think they're seeing the negative impact it's having on families at home who are fully remote in terms of their mental health component. And they're saying the academics has been fantastic during remote, but our kids need a little bit of social interaction. And I find that interesting because that will impact. We're going to have to spend some time looking at our class numbers, and it could potentially impact pulling someone who was teaching remotely back into the classroom and go from there. So that's all being worked out now in terms of the process. So when we get to that January 28th day, it can be a seamless transition. It's important to remember that all of this takes time for us to put into motion. We can't just flip the switch tomorrow and say, okay, Mr. Adams, you were a remote teacher, you're going back in the classroom on Monday. It just doesn't work that way. Partly because we've got to have conversations with families potentially about moving kids out of classrooms in order to make it work as well. So we keep the numbers agreeable. So I think that's pretty much where we are.
Any other questions or comments? And then we're not going to have an athletic update this week. But
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
I want it to be a more thorough, presentation by Stephen next week.
Sure.
I didn't want to put him on the spot on Wednesday when I'm hearing what they're talking about to say, hey, have something ready for Friday. So.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Looks like we're good then. Staying just as we are.
Yep.
See what happens with the next couple of weeks post Thanksgiving. And
we've got 3 weeks until our next break.
Yeah.
So 3 weeks and 2 days or something like that. So.
All right. Excellent.
All right. Good job, everybody.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Kathy?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Aye for me, and have a great weekend, everybody. Thank
Great.
you again
Thanks.
for all you do.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Thanks,
Happy
everybody.
Thanksgiving.